When looking at Super Mario Bros. To Super Mario World, these stand out as iconic games. They came at a time where gaming was still in its young starting stages and was just starting to get popular. These four games changed the landscape, putting content first to make great games. Let's take a look to where it all began. Super Mario Bros. Was developed after Miyamoto and another designer finished two games. While in development, Miyamoto and the other designer took inspiration from the previous two games they worked on, which was Excitebike and Devil World. Even taking one element of one game they were developing at the same time as Super Mario Bros. Called Legend of Zelda. In the end, the final product was a simple platformer which would go on to sell 40 million units, making it a groundbreaking success. While not the first game, it did start a franchise that we all know and love for many years to come. After the success of the first Super Mario Bros., it was not a surprise that a direct sequel would be made. During the development of this game, Miyamoto recalled back to one game that he was working on called vs. Super Mario Bros., a modified version of the original game, but made more difficult, which is where some of the inspiration of the levels come from, as he had fun developing games for that game in particular. As the game was ready for testing, they sent it to their product analyst, Howard Phillips, for review. As he was playing the game, he said, "As I continued to play, I found that Super Mario Bros. 2 asked me again and again to take a leap of faith, and that each of those leaps resulted in my immediate death. This is not a fun game to play. It was punishment, undeserved punishment. I put down my controller, astonished that Mr. Miyamoto had chosen to design such a painful game. Like the first Super Mario Bros., it was a success, selling 1.2 million copies just in Japan. There were many similarities, but some minor differences to make the game a little different. For example, the enemy behavior. Other than the minor differences, it looks exactly the same as the first Super Mario Bros. Shortly after completing Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, they worked on the next game to follow up. The other designer had ideas for what direction to take this next Mario game. For this game, he did not want to focus what he did with Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels. He wanted to make a new experience and renovate the series, and bring it to all audiences. All in all, there were 20 to 30 people working on Super Mario Bros. 3, and when it released, the game was a huge hit, selling 17 million units worldwide. This game brought a new generation to the world of video games, and was met with big anticipation. To be honest, for a game that was made on the NES, this was so incredible at the time, given the technology back in the 1990s. When Super Mario World was being developed, the other designer wanted to make a new experience just like he did with Super Mario Bros. 3. During development, however, it is stated that the designers tested out Super Mario Bros. 3 on the SNES hardware, but ultimately the other designer decided it was too similar just with updated graphics and wanted to make a whole new experience altogether. It is stated that Miyamoto wanted Mario to ride a horse. This traces back to when the first Super Mario Bros. Was finishing development, but ultimately, due to hardware limitations, it did not happen. The game was met with critical acclaim, making it a game that fans remember. Furthermore, it had a strong legacy. It went on to sell more than 20 million copies, making it the best-selling SNES game.